Okay, since everybody usually has more fun introducing themselves, but before we do that, we're here over here just off 7th and Hamilton,
Yes.
in the developing downtown Allentown, and my personal opinions are not going to be stated here.
Please, no, because we're right in front of the government center, so you don't want that to be broadcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I will let. But I'm here with a poet who is also going to have his own internet radio show on Prolific Radio shortly. And introduce yourself.
Hey, well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you to the
Thank you for making the time.
Interview. My name is Mike Judkins. I am a poet. I am an author, and I'm also a social worker out here in the Lehigh Valley area. My first chap book, Sentiment to Me, actually is released now on Amazon and Google Books. Go check it out.
Now, just a quick question, man. Is it only available in print, or do you also have it in ebook for everybody?
It's right now on print, and it's on digital download on Google Books, and it is going to be made available on ebooks probably within the next month or two.
Okay.
So right now it's in print, and then you can also download it on Google Books. So Google Books has that platform to where you can download.
Because more and more people are migrating over to ebook. That's why.
I noticed that. Like, what is your intake about the whole ebook publishing? I mean, like, is it really taking over print? Because
it is.
I'm starting to really think that's the way to go with a lot of
Honestly,
stuff.
I think it is, because like even with myself, I used to love paper, paperback, the paper and print. But now it's like, okay, if it doesn't fit on my laptop or my phone, and not only that, but people are always on the go now.
That's true.
So it's like you can take it with you. The portability's there. It's just, I don't know whether it's easier or harder to read. That's up to the individual. But personally, I prefer ebooks now over my style. I do prefer the ebook. Now there's a downside to the industry though.
What is that? Because before you go on that point, I like to give people options.
Yeah.
So to have the book available in all different types of options, you capture the reader that still likes the print,
right?
The reader that still likes ebook,
right?
And Google Books, and Google Play, it's just as large as Amazon Kindles in the ebook format, and it's easier to upload and download and get.
It is
much more easier.
Okay.
And it makes it just perfectly easy, and Google's a great platform.
Okay, so I went with Amazon and Smashwords.
I work for Google, but it's a good platform.
I actually went with Amazon and Smashwords myself. So,
okay.
But no, as far as like the ebooks and being in the days now of the indies, whether it's music, art, or anything, like music and everything else, it's harder anybody out there can put out a book now with the ebooks.
Right.
So it's like, I actually read this by another author I know, and I agree with it, where as far as the standards of what's good and what isn't, that's getting harder and harder to define now. And the market's so flooded that even if you are a good author now, it's hard. You have to put in so much time into the marketing. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. As somebody that just right now that's promoting, the book, and I understand marketing is key. I think you do much more marketing than you actually do the creative process of writing a book. So I think the market is changing. I think it depends on the genre you're in, and I do think it's how you brand yourself. Mm-hmm. So I think marketing comes with branding, and branding is marketing.
Right.
So you have to represent your book. You have to know your book. You have to be out there to engage with your public. You got to be able to create this persona, or like I like to call it, that alter ego, that superhero.
Yeah.
To kind of get your message across and get people to buy it, and that's marketing. Right now with the internet being so huge as it is, and everybody's on it, marketing on the internet is a great tool, but it's also that face-to-face connection that will always last longer when you engage with people, when you tell them
when you go to a book signing,
when you're doing readings, in my case,
right,
or you just walking in the street and you talk and somebody mentions you, or you meet somebody new and you tell them, hey, I do this, and they want to listen to you,
right?
So that's marketing.
Yeah.
So you just got to be able to expose yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, especially some writers, it all depends on how they feel comfortable with exposing themselves. You know, everybody can. Some people don't like to be in front of cameras. Some people don't like, you know, to be in the public eye. And one of the things about marketing is that you can't just sit there and let the book do it. You have to.
You can't hide. You can't hide anymore.
You can't hide. So you got to put your face out into the world.
Yeah, and just from my own personal experience, the marketing, no matter what you do, if you know whether you're books, musicians, whatever, that will burn up 95 to 99% of your time is the marketing after you get that book released. You know, even if you just do all the marketing online, that is a flat out time, because one of the major sites for authors is also Goodreads. You know, so it's like, okay, you're trying to do it on the social media, you're trying to do it on Goodreads, you might want to set up an event for it online. Yeah, that is just advanced warning to any potential authors out there. If you don't have the time to put into the marketing, don't do it.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll build on that a little bit, and I'll take it another way. I don't think it is the time. It is time consuming, it is the time, but you also have to have fun with the time.
Yeah.
I think with the marketing, and for me in poetry, you got to kind of know, you have to know your niche. You got to kind of know your population. You got to kind of know your genre, because not everything is going to fit that reader or that potential audience. So you have to narrow it down to make your marketing effective. So you have to really look at which avenues is best for you in your marketing plan. So,
yeah.
And what I mean by that is more in the sense of, you know, somebody put a blast on the internet about whatever book services that they have, doesn't necessarily mean 50 people will look at it. It might only reach one person of that 50 because that one person's in that specific marketing campaign within that genre. So I think it is time consuming, but it doesn't have to be time wasted if you structure it and narrow which outlets you're gonna.
And poetry is one of the toughest genres to sell now.
You telling me?
Yeah, I know. We both of us know from first-hand experience. Poetry is, for some reason, we were discussing this before we started the interview, where poetry, it's not so much, and I agree with you, it's not so much dying off. It just, unless you're in a major city like New York, where you have a lot of the different arts, or Philly, or like Miami, Tampa, wherever, like here in Lehigh Valley, poetry is so far underground you'd swear it doesn't even exist.
Right.
You know, because something like poetry is very difficult. You know, you put it even on Amazon or Google, you put in that genre, do not expect a bestseller right away.
Right. And you know what, Mike? You know, I agree with you. You know, we spoke on this in detail,
yeah.
And I'm sure I see this being a conversation you and I will have way more about. I can see that.
Yes.
Just
as we get
change,
through the more experiences,
you know, just trying to get the change. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the Cage, which is the creating artistic values through entertainment, and which is going to debut on June 17th at 6 o'clock on Prolific Radio. That's prolific.com. And I wanted to have that platform for poets and writers and singer-songwriters, and that need that media attention, that need radio, and trying to get an audience is extremely hard for a poet or poetry, especially in the area we live in, to kind of get exposure in a different sense. And whether it depends on age, race, gender. It doesn't really matter with that stuff. It's about the creative art itself. So, you know, that's why I really wanted to do the radio show. And the funny thing about it, before I went and became a social worker, a master's level therapist, I started my college career as a journalist. So I used to do college radio up in SUNY Morrisville.
I was a DJ on WXLV.
I was on the production team, and I always had this act for radio. You know, always did. And
I always sucked at it, so. And at least I admit it.
To kind of be behind the scenes and kind of doing everything in that sense. So when this opportunity
now, was this back in the day of reel to reel, or was this digital?
This was reel to reel. I mean, I guess it was digital too, because this was like 2000.
Okay.
But the board was still, you know, very old fashioned. And
I was mid-90s on board up on AM radio and college radio DJ. That was back when CDs first became popular. So everything for me was reel to reel. Yeah, so it was that the studio. I remember the studio. Look at Google it if you don't, for the younger generations.
I remember, you know, the studio having a lot of mixed things. So I wanted the Cave to represent that, and I didn't want it just for it to promote promote my stuff. Of course, I'm going to be promoting my stuff, Sentiment to Me, which is out on Amazon and books. But also, I wanted to give a platform for other artists, you know, and other poets, and just for them to have a home to say, look, I want to be able to recite some stuff, or I want to be able to, I'm working on a piece and I want to do an interview with Mike, and that's why I called it The Cave, and it's creating artistic values through entertainment, and, you know, I'm praying and hoping that this goes as where I want it to go, and looking for support and all over, so
yeah,
I'm very excited about it.
Okay, well, we're going to cut off part one right here, since we actually covered a lot of ground, and we covered the presents. We did this in a little bit of reverse order, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Part two, we're going to get into, you know, your history, how you started writing, you know, and things like that. You know, we and off camera we also discussed with poetry.
Right.
I know people that will just they'll look at a tree and write a poem, or, you know, but true poetry, the good poetry, comes from your heart and life experience, and we'll get into that. And since we have common ground, I'm feeling that this is going to be a good discussion.